Oh, boys and girls, welcome to Spain. Talk about falling on your feet. I resigned from Norwich, and a month later, here I am, manager of Real Madrid. I don't even need Google Maps to tell me that the commute between my house in Norwich and my new club in Madrid is probably not a commute I want to be doing on a daily basis. So you know what that means, boys and girls. We need to find out where we're going to be living. Which, of course, means a quick trip to the Halifax mortgage calculator. Other mortgage calculators are available. Inexplicably, they still don't sponsor these videos. Halifax. I was this close to using Santander for this one because, you know, Spanish. You need to be getting in touch. But based on my new salary at Real Madrid of £52,000 a week, which works out at £2.7 million a year, we could borrow up to £12.8 million. Now, of course, they don't take pounds in Spain because they're awkward. So we have to convert that into monopoly money, and £12.8 million in euros is just over 15 million euros, which I suspect will be enough to get us somewhere half decent. Now, as we found when I moved to Germany with Schalke, Rightmove isn't much use in situations like this because, again, they focus on England. But this site, Idealista, looks like it has plenty of houses in Madrid. The most expensive one doesn't have any photographs. You can be sure I'm not buying a house without a photograph. But if we want to slum it a little bit and save a little bit of money, keep €1 million back for a rainy day, we could take a detached house in El Viso. Let's have a look. This is £13.95 million. I don't know what it is. I mean, is it this? Is it this? We need a close-up photo, please. None of these are just... I mean, is that our ground or is that someone else's ground? So we've had loads of pictures of Madrid and now a shower and a tap. There's definitely a football stadium in the background. Is that our football stadium? Are we buying the football stadium? I mean, I can't help but think we didn't get a lot of pictures of the house there. So we've got a garage, couple of salons. I can finally get that haircut I need. And then I guess dormitorio. I mean, do I look Spanish to you? Do we have an English version of this? I guess that's bedroom. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Well, this has been a big help. No chairs from what I can tell. Did I like it? I don't think I even saw it, but I guess it'll do. And if that's our ground right outside, that's perfect. Hello and welcome to Club 5, Part 1 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev, and coming up on this episode, we are going to start rebuilding Real Madrid. And I am really quite excited about the prospect of doing it. We looked in the last episode to see that we have inherited quite an aging team here at Real Madrid. If you are new to the series, because it's got an episode 1 on the front of it, bear in mind we are in 2035. This is the fifth club of a long-running save. I'll put a link down in the description below so you can see the previous parts. But ultimately, it's a nice jumping-on point if you are new. Make sure you subscribe. And as ever, with the first part of a new series, it would be jolly nice if we could hit, let's say, 2,000 likes on this video to give it a good old boost in the good old algorithm. You know you want to help me out in the algorithm. I've got a Real Madrid shirt to pay for. That's not one. It's not here yet. I have got a Real Madrid shirt to pay for. So, you know, I could use the help in the algorithm. But we do have this aging team. So I think the job for this summer is to start to move some of these guys on, because looking at how many appearances last season, Umar Solet, at 35 years old, turns 36 this coming season, played 32 times for the club last year after a career that's, I mean, no offence to Monaco here, but it's never really taken him to the top level until he was in his mid-30s. I feel like this isn't a guy we should be building Real Madrid's defence around. Yes, he's 6'4", and you can't teach that, and I do appreciate that, but I feel like we can probably do better than him. He probably needs to be moving on. Likewise, Vinicius Jr., he's been here a long time, but to me, that looks like he's in decline. He's had all these years where he's clearly been one of the best players in the world for quite a long time, hammering home the goals, averaging sort of 7.3s, 7.4s. Recent years, though, the goals have started to dry up. Didn't get a single man of the match last year, only averaging a 7.12. I think he's done, and I think we need to move him on, try and cash in while we can, especially because these players are earning such a large amount of money. We moved just those two on, and that's £500,000 a week going back into our wage kitty, and they're not the only ones. I'm not going to necessarily bin everybody off, especially because we're on quite a small squad as it is. We probably need to focus on recruitment rather than getting rid of lots and lots of players for now. But the idea is, and the club are absolutely on board with what my vision for it would be, sign players under the age of 23, maximum 1-year contracts for anyone over 32, maximum 2-year contracts for anyone over 30, maximum 3-year contracts for anyone over the age of 28. They really are looking to bring down the average age of this squad, which is exactly how I like to play Football Manager as well. So that's what we're going to be looking to do. Bring in a bunch of players 23 and younger and start to phase out some of these older guys on stupid money. The fact that we've got a 21-year-old, the fact there's a 21-year-old on £325,000 a week as well, absolutely bonkers. This club has been run by a maniac. You think I don't know how to do financial management? That, boys and girls, is insane. There was nobody at Norwich on anywhere near that kind of money, but we do have, even with all that nonsense going on, a spare £1 million a week in wage budget, because obviously we have this gigantic stadium which we fill and these massive sponsorships, and it's just like a never-ending money machine here at Real Madrid. So, I mean, we've got our sponsorships total £821 million. That's not a year. What would that? I mean, that's, some of those are like 15-year sponsorships, but the fact that per season we're getting £20 million for stadium sponsorship, 22 million kit sponsor, £91 million a year for the main kit sponsor. These are bonkers numbers. We can just spend to our heart's content. I'm setting a 3-year timescale on this. 3 years' time, we should be winning the Champions League with an average age of like 25, 26. That's got to be the plan. But it is already the 5th of July, and we probably need to get started on doing some moves. So what do we actually need? Let's just shuffle according to position. We'd already done that. That was useful. Good work, Kev. We have got a lot of players who can play wide, but it looks like the club have been playing a diamond, similar to what we've been doing at Norwich. They haven't. They've been doing a 4-3-3 with a DM, which is interesting. When we first arrived, you saw in yesterday's episode, when we first arrived, the recommended best 11 was in the shape of a diamond. But I'm not against doing something a little bit different if it better suits the players that we've got. But I guess if we're looking, so Florentino is a winger with bags of potential. I think we might stick to the 4-3-3 they've been using, because ultimately it's been going quite well for them. You know, they finished second in La Liga, only 1 point off the top. They won the league the last couple of years before that. It's not that this team has hit a massive slump. It's just starting to touch the sides of a little bit of an edge of a decline because they're aging a little bit. My one concern with doing a 4-3-3, which means we might lean to a 4-2-3-1, is that guy we looked at before, Koulibaly, who his best position is as an attacking midfielder. Now, I guess you could play him in central midfield. You could play him as the centre forward, although I'm not ever likely to play a support striker as a lone striker. I know it's something that some of you like to do. I don't. So I think if we're doing a 4-3-3, it's probably going to be a playmaker or a Mazzala bursting out of the midfield, which he could probably be very effective at. Or we might just use him in that role. I need to have a ponder. We're going to have a little bit of a ponder. We're going to have a look to see what's available out there. Put some feelers out about maybe moving on a couple of these old men. And as soon as we've got some transfers, I'll show you them. Right, I've still not signed anybody. I've been just basically playing around, having a little look to see what we've got. If we are going to use this 4-3-3, which I think I am leaning towards, I'm kind of leaning towards keeping Vinicius Jr. around for one more year as well. Just purely because he's going to be quite expensive to replace and we don't really have much depth behind him. But looking if we are going to do this, our main strength is in central midfield, which is why I guess leaning towards the diamond does make sense, but it then eliminates some of these wider players. But looking at what we've got, Vinicius Jr. is an old man we're looking to move on. Sheldrup is a striker who can play out there. And then Florentino is the young up-and-comer, but he has only got 4-star potential. If we look on the other wing, the best right winger is a right back. He's also the second best striker, so we're a little bit light up front. We've then got this guy who's also a right back, and this guy who is a striker who can play out wide. So we're not blessed with a lot of wingers. Koulibaly's our best striker, but he could just as easily play here or back here. Rafalski, we've looked at, is a right back. He's going to be absolutely outstanding as a right back. The fact he's our second best striker. Vinicius Jr. is then our third best striker. I think we are set in midfield. Midfield is fine. At the back, we've got Alexandre Etundi, who is very good at centre back. We've got Rafalski, who looks like he can play absolutely everywhere, but if we're going to be playing a team that relies on wing-backs bombing on the way you know I love to do, I mean, we just give that to him and tell him to go and do his thing as a complete wing-back on the right-hand side and just be our best player. We've then got John Rower, who looks like he's a pretty decent centre-back partner for Etundi. We've got Sole, who we looked at before, and then at left-back, Mikel Tadzi. So we've got a decent back four. Goalkeeper-wise, I think we could probably do better. If our best goalkeeper is Lucas Canizares, who's got 2 caps for Spain, that has been Real Madrid's starting goalkeeper for the last 5 years, that feels like we could probably do better. Get Hoyenhal on the phone. Get him in here, for goodness sake. But I think we need attacking players. I think depending on what is available, it will dictate what shape we use. If we say Koulibaly is a midfielder, Rafalski is a right back, and Vinicius Jr. is on his way out because he's old, really, we don't have anyone for a front three of any shape, whether it's an attacking midfielder and a front two, or 2 wingers and a striker. We need all 3 of that. We need to buy all 3 of those players. So I think the focus of this window is on attacking players. And as we've only got £38 million to spend, we'll see what bargains we can bring in and use that to dictate what kind of attacking shape we end up using. I suspect Koulibaly might end up part of that front 3 because I don't think we're going to get 3 elite level attackers for £38 million unless we rob a bank. We've got our Norwich scout reports coming in. This is actually quite interesting seeing how they compare to the world superstars of Real Madrid. So Ivan Fernandez, 4.5-star world-class side at any cost, better than any defender we've got at the club, including Rafalski, have just been raving about. He's quite good. But the likes of Padron, no. Romero, Garza, Lovric, none of these are any good. Caesar. Dinamarco, 4-star current ability, 4-star potential. He would come in as the best centre-back at the club if we signed him. They're all a little bit old, though. We want to sign players 23 and under. Obviously, we're not bringing Max Aarons in. Probably didn't even need to scout him, or Knoll. Did we have anyone under 23 at Norwich? The team had, because I've been there so long, the team had aged quite a lot at Norwich. Yedro's not got the potential to come in and get the job done. I don't think we're bringing anybody over. Tonali's still looking very good. Paviot, I guess there would be an argument for Paviot if we didn't have Rafalski already. But we don't need Paviot, even though he is young enough to come in. Sione is too old. Delgado would be a fantastic signing. But again, at 24, we want to be bringing in 23-year-olds. So even someone like Delgado, probably just going to leave him there. He's old and past it. Schultz we don't need because we've got Koulibaly. So he would be another younger one who we could fit in. Who would fit in? Several of these would fit in. Tipple, probably not quite Real Madrid quality. Hoyenhal, likewise. I mean, to be fair, Hoyenhal would come in as the best goalkeeper at the club, but at 3 stars and 28 years old, I think the love affair with Kim Christian Hoyenhal is over for the time being. Mura would be good enough, but too old. And Pedro Luis, likewise, would be good enough, but too old for the project that we've got on here at the moment. Bindi, same criteria. Too old. Shepherd, probably not good enough. Navarro, not good enough. Aranua, not young enough. So we're not bringing in anyone from Norwich. One guy we are looking to bring in is Cedric Russo. I know I said I was looking to bring in strikers, but then a midfielder became available who just looked outstanding for what he is. To sit there at the base of the midfield as our deep lying playmaker, whether we do a diamond or a 4-3-3, they're the two we're still deciding between. But whichever one we do, if we look at what we've got in defensive midfield, Carlos Vitor is really a central midfielder. And especially if Koulibaly's going to be playing at the point of a diamond, Vitor's going to be in the two with Felipe Lopez. And then it kind of drops off a bit after that. So Vitor's not going to be playing here. Atundi, we know, is a centre-back. Roa is a centre-back. Soleil's a centre-back. And then we've got this guy who's a right-back. So we don't really have an out-and-out defensive midfield player. So as much as I would like to bring in strikers, we've got a number of players who can play striker. We don't really have anyone who can play there. And it's going to be a key role in whichever of the two systems we use. So hopefully we get Russo in. He is going to cost a lot of money, £71 million in total, but he is a player who's already an elite level superstar at 23 years old. So that would go down quite nicely. And we're also trying to get rid of a couple of players who are unhappy at the club. Bolado and Genie are both unhappy at the club. So we're trying to move them out and free up a little bit of money in doing so. But no other news as yet. I have no idea what's going on. I can't tell up from down anymore. Why on earth would this guy sign for Tottenham rather than us? I don't... He deliberated greatly before accepting Tottenham's offer over ours, with it being a very close call for him to make. He doesn't think he'll get playing time he's looking for. I mean, he would have been a regular nailed-on starter for us. I am baffled. I can only hope he doesn't get the work permit at Spurs, because he's not a full French international properly yet, but he will. Tottenham finished... Where did Tottenham finish in the Premier League last year? This is just... I mean, okay, they did get into the Champions League. I'll allow it. It does still seem silly. Have Norwich got a manager yet? Well, this guy leaves Arsenal after 9 years to go and manage Norwich. He's going to win the Champions League there, isn't he? Oh, dear. It's all going wrong already. Well, I have now made my first signing. Not quite the guy I was hoping to bring in before. Victor Mikhailov is an elite centre-back, which we did need another centre-back. He can come in and be a partner to Atundi, the guy that we've got back there at the moment. So he'll probably play there rather than in defensive midfield, but he can also play central midfield. And if necessary, we can train him to play there. But I suspect, even though I found him when looking for players who could play defence and midfield, I think we'll probably end up using him as a centre-back, 22 years old, and decent player for Genk for the last few years, decent potential. And if we have a look at our squad depth, I suspect he'll be a starter for us ahead of Soleil or Roa, with Rafalski out at right back. So it's not necessarily the highest priority signing that we had. It fills a gap. And we are selling players to be... I'd like to think there's still going to be plenty more moves, although we have been here like 3 weeks and we've only brought in one player as part of this rebuild so far. But we have moved a couple of fringe players on. There's more fringe players, hopefully heading out of the door as well. So there'll be money freed up. We've still got loads of money to spend, loads of spare money in both budgets. There is no reason to panic just yet. I'm trying not to rush into it. I'm letting my scouts do their thing so that when we do bring players in, they are players that are actually going to come in and make a difference. And ultimately, if we have a look at the Dream 11, you can see we've got 3 of the back 4. We've got 2 of the midfield 3. We're doing all right. We've got the 2 best players in the entire division. We are doing okay. We don't need to rush into these transfers. Just take our time, pick the right guy, I think he'll end up at 22 years old, already an elite centre-back. I think he's probably the right guy. Well, we've signed the guy who's going to be our goalkeeper for the next 15 years or so. Maybe not this season. He's actually officially coming as our backup goalkeeper. But looking further forward, Thomas Silva, 6'3", Portuguese under-21 international goalkeeper, 2.5-star current ability, 5-star potential for a goalkeeper at a club like Real Madrid is absurd. He's already almost as good as Canizares and our backup keeper, Lorenzo Rodriguez. But with all that potential, I suspect even over the course of this season, there's a chance he forces himself into the team as our regular starting goalkeeper. And certainly not long after that, I would expect him to. He started at Braga in Portugal. Liverpool signed him for only 900,000, loaned him out to Newcastle, where he's done a full season in the Championship. He also did a full season in the Championship for Blackburn. And now we've spent £48 million on him to bring him in here to be our forever goalkeeper. So that's our second big marquee young signing that we brought in this summer, Mikhailov and Silva. We are also trying to bring in another defender, Robert Marina. We are very short in the squad on defenders in general, especially because defenders are the players who I am clearing out at the moment. Balado is a defender who's already left the club. G is another defender who's on his way out, who's just not good enough. 2.5-star current ability at 29, uncapped player. We just don't need people like that around. So they're the sort we're trying to kind of refresh and replace. I am looking for attacking players and not really having much joy so far. I did have a little word with Norwich to see if we could get Delgado. They wanted £260 million for him, so we're not getting Delgado. So for now, we might be making do with the attack that we've got, which certainly isn't disastrous. I'm sure Mori Koulibaly playing as a support striker, potentially even with Vinicius Jr. alongside him, playing as the attacking striker, who's still very, very quick. I think that could be a pretty decent front two. And then you potentially have, I don't know, I guess you have Lopez in behind the two of them, or we'll figure it out. We've got a plan. I did try and bring this guy in as an attacking midfielder, but it looks like our offer for him has been declined, which I didn't notice happening. Let's make another offer, shall we? Why have they... So they accepted it and then declined it. Now they want even more. It's not ideal, but you know what? I want him. He's an actual attacking player who can be that guy in behind that front two I just mentioned, but can also play wide on either side if we decide to play a system with wingers. So, yeah, we're going to try and bring Bell in as well. The season starts in a couple of weeks. Obviously, the transfer window stays open a little bit longer, but we would like to have done the majority of our business before the season starts. I'm not massively confident we'll get that done, but we are starting to make some moves now. I would really like a really good striker just to appear out of nowhere, says every football manager ever. I would like one, please. We have got both of those players in. Robert Marina is in. He's another centre-back who can play anywhere across the back four. He comes in from Borussia Dortmund. And also Michael Bell, Mickey Bell, probably Mickey. He's come in from, who did we sign him from? Bayern Munich. Another French international midfielder. He's actually just turned 24, which is frustrating because he did meet the under 23 criteria when we started negotiations. He's just attacking midfielder / central midfielder / winger on either side. Nice little tricky creative player to give us another nice attacking creative option. The one thing we've not been able to bring in is a striker. We are pretty much spent up. All the transfer budget is gone. Wage budget, we're actually over the wage budget currently, although we are still looking to move some of these players out. But yeah, I do feel like we're a world-class striker short of where we need to be. I don't know if Sheldrup, I mean, he's not the guy, is he? Vinicius Jr. as a striker. I mean, he's scored goals in his career. Is he the guy? I don't know. Is Koulibaly? Maybe Koulibaly plays as striker. It's a tricky one. What have we got in the development centre? I have had a little nose in here before. We've got one particularly good young centre-back coming through, Borja Morales, who we'll be keeping a very close eye on, but no one else who's really ready for the first team. So I think probably for this season, we have to make do with Vinicius Jr. I hope we can squeeze one more season out of him playing as a striker. And then review. If it really doesn't work early on, I guess the other option is you go to like a 4-3-3 with Koulibaly as a false 9 and look to be fancy behind him with the likes of Bell and Lopez and Vinicius Jr. and the youngster Florentino. We've got a few young attacking players who are very creative, who can kind of play off him. We'll see. We'll see. The media still think we're going to win the league, I think. Let me have a little look. Yeah, the media think we're going to win the league. We certainly have a very strong defence and midfield. The attack is where we might struggle, but it looks like Barcelona also struggle up front. So Atletico have got all the attacking players. Interesting. Very, very interesting. And that brings us to the start of the new season. We did have a late offer from Juventus for Vinicius Jr., so transfers might not necessarily be over yet. We've turned that down for now. It would be very tempting to get his £220,000 a week off the wage budget, but now we're in a situation where we can't really bring in an alternative striker. It's not really an option, but he is 35 years old, so it is a lot of money to be paying a 35-year-old. He is in the final year of his contract as well. I think we've kind of made peace with the fact we're going to let him run his contract down this year because we need to keep him around. This is what the team's, I think, going to be looking like for the first day of the new season. We've got this as one option. The other option is to do something like this. I can actually move him and do that kind of shape. And we can fit into both of them. So I think we'll probably start with what we know. We'll start with the diamond, but we certainly have this as an option to switch to if it's clear that the diamond's not working. If it's really, the key is Vinicius Jr. going to cut it as a striker? If not, we need to get him out wide where he's played the majority of his career and theoretically will be at his best. But if we can get a final year out of him playing as a centre forward alongside Koulibaly, then I think the diamond has the best chance of success for us this season, based on what we've learned in the series so far. We'll find out tomorrow, I guess, when we play our first couple of games in charge of Real Madrid. Still no shirt, by the way. I've just had an email from Adidas saying my shirt is delayed. They realise I need it urgently for the series. Come on, Adidas. Sort yourselves out. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.